Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm excited to share with you a first look at the 35th Infantry Division. This is a new US division available as a late addition to the Early Access Pack. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Just a note, what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change. However, this is planned to be released on Tuesday the 27th of August, so really not long to wait. I'm going to go through all of the units available and we'll put together a quick tag. So let's start here in the logistics tab with the M561 supply goat. 25 points, 12 on a card for 500 supply. 54 km/h off-road speed is not fantastic, but it's your standard small supply vehicle. Then we have the M813A1 supply. Much better off-road speed at 81 km/h, provides 1,500 supply, 50 points, 4 on a card. Then we have the M577 CPC, which is your standard armored leader, but you only get 2 on a card, unfortunately. Then we have the UH-60A supply, which is your standard Black Hawk supply helicopter, 1,000 supply, 10% ECM, not too bad. Then we have possibly the best command helicopter with 20% ECM. It's okay. Unfortunately, command helicopters aren't particularly useful just because of how visible they are. You can see them coming a mile away, and then they just get artied when they land. Then we have the M151 MUT-CP, which is your standard Jeep for capturing sectors. Then we have the field supply point, which is available in this division. Now moving on to the infantry tab, and this is where we start to see that the 35th is primarily a National Guard division. So we have ourselves here the M60 MG team for 10 points. They come in a transport that's twice their cost. Then we have the military police, which have the M16s and the M60. They can be brought in with a military police Humvee, which could actually be pretty useful for spreading the military police buff to nearby units. And then we have the military police with the M67, which is always a nice recoilless to have. However, recently I've started to use it less in favor of ATGMs. And then we have the 50 cal team for 30 points, 1,400 meter range. 50 cals are actually pretty good. Then we have the M40 recoilless, which has 17 penetration. The big problem with recoilless rifles is, of course, their lack of accuracy. Then we have the standard TOW, 16 penetration at 2,625 meter range, 50% accuracy. And the ITO, which has 20 penetration, 60% accuracy at 2,625 meter range. Now, it is worth noting that this is the best AT weapon that you're going to get access to, and there's only one card with 5 on a card, so that's pretty bad. Also, if it gets shot because it has the reservist trait, they'll take more suppression, making them less accurate, and that's always a problem. So do make sure that you have your military police nearby to remove any of those reservist traits. So that's why I think the military police in this division with the Humvees is going to be actually pretty important. Then we have the National Guard Engineer Leader, which is a 6-man leader with M16s, M21, and the M72 Law. These are reservists, but they do have the shock trait. Not that you're really going to be utilizing that as a leader. Then we have the National Guard Engineers, which is a 10-man squad with 9 M16s, the M60, and the Satchel Charges. Again, shock and reservist. And you'll notice that basically every National Guard unit comes in with the M113, at least in these 2 tiers. So, yeah, nothing crazy on the transports. Then we have the National Guard Engineers, one of the new units to sport 4 weapon slots. So we have ourselves the M3 Grease Gun as their SMGs, M16s, M60, and a flamethrower. So pretty strong squad for 12-man squad. If you have your military police with these is going to perform very well against other units at close range, just due to their numbers and the fact they have the flamethrower. Obviously, will suffer against enemy vehicles, but that's where you'll have your laws and M67s coming into play. For example, this engineer unit with the M67 recoilless, which is actually a pretty nice squad, just because the recoilless allows them to have a bit more projection and also take care of light vehicles. But the M16 here, 20 round mag, not going to be putting out too much DPS. Then we have the National Guard Rifle Leader, M16's M60 Law. This is actually a pretty nice leader, 50 points. 8 strength, not too bad. And since it's never really going to be in direct combat, hopefully, you don't need to worry too much about the reserves trait. And then we have the National Guard rifles, which come with 7 M16s, 2 M60s, and the Law. The National Guard rifles with the M67, so 8 M16s, the M60, and the recoilless. And then we have the National Guards, which come with the Dragon 2. So you do get some Dragon 2 aided gems, which only have the 1,250 meter range now, though, which you do need to bear in mind. But otherwise, pretty handy for taking out sort of APCs and lighter armored vehicles at closer ranges. So yeah, overall, you're going to have a lot of M67s to work with, and that could prove difficult for more armored divisions to deal with because there's so much threat for size shots. And moving into the artillery tab, there's 81mm mortars and 107mm mortars. Nothing crazy there. Then you can get the 81mm mortars in an M113 or the 107mm mortars in there. There is the M109A2s, and you can actually get 3 cards of these. So you can get 6 M109A2s, which is actually a pretty nasty battery for multiplayer. And you've also got access to the M10A2, and you can get 2 cards of them, but only 1 on each card. Very strong artillery unit, for sure. Yeah, the fact that you can get 3 cards of these is actually pretty nice. Then we have the tank tab. Ito on a Jeep. Do have the good stealth for 50 points. You could spread these about and maybe get some good hits in. Good side shots. 20 penetration in the front arm is nothing to scoff at either. Then we have the TOW 2, of course, which is much better. 25 penetration, 2,625 meter range, 65% accuracy as opposed to 60. Big problem here is, of course, the stealth is only mediocre. So I'm not sure how useful these are going to be, but I feel like they're going to be necessary to bring just for helping deal with heavier targets. Then there's the M728CV, which I like as a concept, but its rate of fire really lets it down. If the rate of fire on this main gun was better, it would be way more useful. But unfortunately, it's just not that useful at the moment in game, in my opinion. M60A1, very interesting skin on this one. I'm assuming that's just like a lot of battle wear. Interesting. We've got 120 point tank with 17 penetration. Actually not too bad. 12 front armor, not the best, but yeah, for a leader for 120 points with the 17 pen 12 front armor, it's not too bad. And you can get the ones for 90 points as well, which are not the leader variant, and then 90 points. So a 17 pen gun for 90 points, I don't think that's too bad at all. Pretty solid tank. And you can get 3 cards of these. Then we have the M60A3 TTS CP, which has the 15 penetration gun. Now bear in mind the range on these is actually pretty low. 1,925 meter range as opposed to the 2,275 meter range on the 15 pen gun here. That does mean that at the same range as the M60A1 Rise, the M60A3 TTS will have the same penetration. So just bear that in mind. It also has more accuracy by like 5%. The extra 5% on top of that, which makes it 65 in this case, is provided by the veterancy. So don't get confused by that. All right, moving on, we have the M60A3 TTS, which, yeah, has the 60% accurate gun, 15 penetration at 2,275 meter range. The fact that it does have that range does make this kind of scary for side shots, and it's not too expensive at 125 meter range, or 125 points, sorry. Then we have the National Guard M60A3 TTS with the explosive reactive armor, which provides it with 1 extra hit point, but does make it more vulnerable to tandem missiles. So, yeah, it's sort of a payoff. You get that extra little bit of health, which could be handy in certain situations. Well, most situations, to be honest. But Recon, let's have a look at this. National Guard Scouts. These can be brought in with the M113 ACAV, which is actually a pretty solid support vehicle. I'm quite a big fan of it with its M40 recoilless, the 50 cal, and the M240. But the normal unit itself, the M14s and the M21, they're not too great. They can also be brought in with a Huey. Then there's the National Guard Cav Scouts, which are an 8-man team. 7 M16s, M60, M72 Law can be brought in with the M113 or the Huey, and the National Guard Cav Scouts with the Dragon. But this is just a Dragon 1, so not terribly effective with 14 penetration, 50% accuracy. Then we have ourselves the OH-58A. It's only got 4 health, but it's a recon helicopter. Just keep it back, keep it safe, and it's fine. Then we have the CWI. Interesting. These have GSR trait. So a small 4-man team with M16s and the M21. I guess it's kind of just like having a sniper, just you don't get the trait. Actually, I say that, I mean, snipers don't even get GSR trait most of the time. So, yeah, this is a pretty solid infantry squad. Or recon squad. Get 6 of them in a card, just bring them with M35, spread them about. You'll have plenty of information. That's pretty nice. Then they have the Dragonfly, the first of the Dragonflies in this division. The OA-37B, this is the recon variant. Comes with quite a lot of rockets, actually. 6 health. 660 km/h speed. Not the fastest aircraft in the world, but considering you're going to be using this as recon, you don't want it to be too fast, because otherwise it will like not spot things long enough for you to target them in a lot of cases. So yeah, we'll have to see how useful this is going to be. It's going to get shot down very easily by AA due to having no ECM, but yeah, could be handy. And if it's in a situation where there's no AA, those rockets could probably kill some pretty important infantry targets. And then we have the M60A1 ACAV, which is just M60 with the 1,925 meter gun, but with some optics. Then we have the AA. So first of all, red eye teams, 35% accurate for HE, something you're probably going to want to avoid, but we do of course have Stingers. This is the Stinger Basic with the 2,650 meter range versus helicopters and the 45% range, so definitely an upgrade from the red eye. Then we have the M42A1 Duster, dual 40mm gun on this thing with an M60 as well. Makes me wonder how effective it's going to be against infantry. I didn't get a chance to test that out yet, but I really like this vehicle because my dad back in the day had a model of this. I think he still has it somewhere, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Then we have the US Roland. So the Roland 3 system put on a truck, and it has 3,000 meter range versus helicopters, 4,425 meter range versus aircraft with 60% accuracy. Pretty solid weapon system, generally speaking. Just have to be super careful of seed. That's the biggest problem. Same with the iHawk. Really, really good weapon system. Just got to be wary in this case, though, of also artillery as well as seed, because towed units like this are quite vulnerable to enemy artillery, so you're going to want to basically move these every time they fire. So keep the M35 nearby, but otherwise you benefit greatly from the 3,175 meter range versus helicopters and 5,650 meter range versus aircraft with 55% accuracy and the 9 HE. My advice would be to upvet these, make that 60% accuracy, just so that those one missiles that you are firing are hitting the mark. Then we have the helicopter tab, which is pretty cool. We have the UH-1M gunship with its 40mm on the front. And then we have the rotary cannon on there as well. We've got 2 miniguns. So we've got grenade launcher, 2 miniguns, and then also the Hydra 70 rocket pods with the 38 rockets in total. A very nice payload to be putting down fire onto enemy infantry squads and also light vehicles. Then we have the AH-1S ECAS, which has just your standard Hydra rocket layout. Pretty cool. And then we have the AH-1F Tow Cobra, which comes with the ITO and the limited amount of Hydra rockets. And finally, we have ourselves the Air Tab, where we're going to be seeing more of the Dragonflies. Again, in a sort of cast role, they're not going to be very effective, because it's fine when you have like the recon one, which you're going to be flying sort of behind your lines. But when you're actually directly attacking the enemy with a bombing run from something like this, it's very likely to get shot down. Although its payload in this case is actually not too bad. You get 4 227 kilogram bombs and 4 119 kilogram bombs. Then there's the napalm variant, which comes with 4 340 kilogram napalm bombs. Moving on, we have ourselves the Phantom II, which comes with 4 Maverick missiles with 50% accuracy, 185 points. If you get a side shot into a big tank, it's going to pay itself off every time. Then we have the F-111F with the 12 227 kilogram bombs, the F-111 with the 8 227 Rockeye clusters, and also 4 340 kilogram napalm. These are okay because they do have decent ECM. Like the cluster one doesn't really drop its cluster the way you'd want it to, but it's good for definitely stopping big tank pushes in team games. And then we have ourselves the Wild Weasel, solid seed aircraft for 215 points, has the strike with 40% ECM. Then there's the F-16. In this division though, not fantastic. I mean, it's very good at close range. Very good at close range. I mean, you got 6 AIM-9s, and it can fire 2 at the same time. So it will take down aircraft if it gets into a dogfight at close range, but it will suffer massively against like MiG-31s, for example, which can just like shoot them down from longer range. So yeah, I would say it's an okay aircraft. I would like for it to have some longer range missiles, but it's going to absolutely delete helicopters, and it's going to be able to destroy enemy aircraft at close range. F-16 with the AT missiles actually gets better Maverick missiles than the Phantom II. You'll notice that these ones have 50% accuracy. The F-16, it actually has 60% accuracy. So you've got 4 of these AGM-65D Mavericks, and those are very good. So this F-16 is pretty nice. Then we have the F-111F with the laser-guided bombs, which is a classic. So I think it drops 2 at a time. Pretty handy for just allowing it to come around, drop like 2 sets. And you'll probably want to bring these. They're very, very handy and very well used in 1v1 gameplay. You might struggle to get value out of them in team games just because of the amount of AA. Alright, let's go ahead and throw together a quick deck. I'm just going to throw the name in here. Okay, starting off in logistics. So I think I'm just going to bring 2 cards of the M813A1 supplies. We'll bring in an FSP and the Jeeps. I think that's going to be the plan there. For the infantry tab, I am extremely tempted to bring in these in the Humvees with military police straight. Military police with M67. We'll bring in the ITOs, of course, and the normal tows. Having HGMs everywhere is kind of important these days, I feel. We'll bring in the engineers with flamethrowers and also the M67s, so I'll just put those ones in first. I don't think I'm going to bother with the 50 cal M13, just because I want them to get to the front line quicker and be able to sell the transport. We might bring one with the M113s, but yeah. For the most part, we're just going to go with numbers for now. Bring in these engineers that can fight at close range, as well as provide that M67 fire. A infantry leader could be a good idea here. Now think about it. It might be better to use National Guard rifles here. And again, having that shock trait is so handy. I don't think the M60's really going to be worth having. I'd rather have an extra man and 2 guns. Yeah, I think the engineers are the play. Although we get 3 cards of dragons that we can bring. Okay, let's just sit with that for now. I'm going to have to think about leaders for sure. In this case, we're going to go with the M109 battery. And kind of tempted to bring in some mortars as well. Just to provide smoke at closer ranges. We could do that with the M113 actually. And then for the tanks, this is where we could add leaders quite a lot. I think that's probably the best bet. So we'll definitely bring in those and those, as we only get 1 card of each. And then it's just going to be how many cards of everything else do you want. We'll definitely bring in the TOW 2s. And maybe even the ITOs. I think that's okay. So how many leaders does that give us? That gives us 7 leaders. That should be fine. We'll definitely bring in the recon aircraft. Definitely going to bring in these guys. Don't need to worry about veterancy on those. And then we're going to want probably just these guys. The 8-man squad with the law is going to be a lot more valuable at the start of the game than the standard dragon, I think. So we'll do those. I don't think getting 3 M60s with extra optics is really worth it, but I'm tempted to grab the helicopter. Just bear in mind that we are getting pretty low on activation points. I am going to bring in the Rolands. We're going to upvet those, and we'll bring in the Ihawks upvetted as well. We'll upvet the Stingers. And I do want to try out the Duster, but I might not have room for it in the deck. I am almost tempted to take out the Stingers, but I might just take out something else, like the Ihawk, so that I can try out the Duster. Then we'll have the gunship, of course. I'm not going to bring in these, even though I'm pretty sure this would be the choice in this tab. And then for your air tab, it's actually a pretty difficult deck to build. I feel like I ran out of activation points super quickly, but it's probably because of the infantry tab. Maybe we don't take those. That gives us 3 points back. Our artillery tab is pretty crazy. I reckon we can take out the TOW 2 there. Or actually, take out those, yep. So we'll just keep the M60s with the 2,275 meter range. That's absolutely fine. And then that gives us 6 more points to work with. I think bringing in both of the F111Fs is going to be important. Both of the F16s probably as well. Although you're definitely going to want Seed. And you probably do want this F16, so I'm going to bring in those. That's going to be more like it. Last one can be the helicopter. Okay, I think that'll do. That allows me to keep the Duster in there. although it's something that I imagine you'll end up taking out. Not going to be the most optimal of decks, but certainly a fun one to try out. I'm looking forward to seeing how the aircraft performs in the Recon tab. I think you'll probably want to have the helicopters as well, the Kiowa in there. Just bear that in mind. But otherwise, looks okay. We'll have to see how much power the infantry can put out if they're supported by the military police buff. Alright, well that's it for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this look at the 35th Infantry Division. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.